You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or their affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey, this is Jeff Belanger, author, researcher for Ghost Adventures, host of New England Legends, and of course, beer drinker. And you're listening to PSH Radio with Sam and Carl on the Parasearch Network. They're broadcasting to you from Old England. You can tell by the accents.
Good evening, guys. I am back again, of course. And guess who's back this time? The lovely Carl. Hi, Carl.
Hello, Sam. Yes, I am back. I'm just about over jet lag, but I'm back. It's good to be back on the show. Obviously, you've heard snippets over the last few shows of me being around, but I'm back. I'm back on the show, the Thursday night show. So all good, looking good.
Yeah, and obviously tonight, guys, if you obviously didn't go to SalemCon, I'll be asking Carl what he did at SalemCon, not everything, because there's some things he might not want to share.
I will talk about anything and everything, and as long
as it's PG, it's fine.
As long as it's after the watershed, so I can describe some sort of stuff. So, over to you.
Yeah, because obviously we spoke earlier and there's a certain hashtag. So, obviously this was your first paranormal convention in the States, wasn't it?
It was indeed. My partner in crime, MJ, who everybody should know that listens to the show, the lovely MJ from Sage Paranormal. She was talking at SalemCon 5, and a few months ago said, do you want to come over? And I was like, what a perfect birthday present for myself. So I said yes. So yes, myself and MJ. MJ's been going over to Salem for the last 4 years. This was my first time. And it was absolutely amazing.
So was it I'm taking it from like all your posts and your status updates. It was rather cold in Salem.
Yes, it was. Okay, I'll just go back to when we first started. Obviously, before myself and MJ, we flew out, because that's one of the great moments that we had. Was luckily I was flying Virgin, and I had access to the Virgin Lounge, so I arrived at Heathrow several hours before. And the lovely MJ then travelling down from Birmingham, where she lives, to meet me. I managed to get her access to the lounge as well. So the Salem trip sort of kicked off in the lounge at Heathrow, the Virgin Lounge, where we enjoyed some lovely Bloody Marys while we chilled out before the flight. And we were quite lucky with the flight, because the flight was hardly full. There was only I think probably about 50 to 60 people on the whole airplane. So we landed in Boston fully recharged. We had a great flight, great food, a few drinks, and enjoyed ourselves. And we got picked up by a couple of the Sage tribe family that were coming as well, Desiree and Greg, who picked us up from Boston Airport to drive us into Salem.
Love it. Yeah, good old Desiree and Greg.
Exactly. Big shout out to them too.
Yeah, that's like kind of a tradition though, isn't it? Because obviously MJ said before, if you're going sailing, if some of the Sage tribe are getting together, and it's got to be start off with Bloody Marys. Exactly.
I always do that anyway when I travel, when I fly. But it's sort of become a bit of a tradition on trips away with the Sage tribe, and Virgin Lounge at Heathrow, beautiful Bloody Marys. We had a great time. We chilled out in the lounge. We had a great time. We had some food. We relaxed. We charged everything that we needed to charge before we got on the flight, before we flew out of Boston. Heathrow to Boston was just under 7 hours. So when we landed, it was about 7:30 at night. Desiree picked us up from Boston, and we drove about 40 minutes into Salem, and we took the coastal route, which really opened my eyes because it was cold. I must admit, I wasn't prepared how cold it was, but it was so cold. But we drove along the coast. We saw anybody that's ever flown into Boston, you land across the ocean into there, and you basically you hug the coast all the way up to Salem before coming slightly inland. So it's very much on the water, and it's very much a town that has water, shipping, fishing involved in the town.
Oh, did you obviously, with it being Salem's very famous, did you find like Salem itself was really busy?
Well, when we first arrived, it was quite dark. Well, it was night time. So by the time we left the airport, Boston Airport, and we arrived at, to be truthfully honest, the most historic, oldest hotel in Salem, the Hawthorne Hotel. This place is amazing. It's proper oldie worldy. It's an amazing hotel. So we checked in. We took our bags up to the room because we flew in a couple of days before the actual convention started, because obviously we wanted to try and be our best because of jet lag, because of flying in from the UK. So we arrived. Desiree picked us up from the airport. We arrived at Salem. We checked into our room, and then we went downstairs. And this hotel, anybody that's listening, just go on the website. Go and Google the Hawthorne Hotel and see how amazing this place is. It's proper oldie world. It's probably one of the oldest hotels in Salem, which is still family owned. And it has, and this is where the convention was happening. So everybody was going to be arriving over the next few days, but we arrived early just to make sure we were in prime experience so we could enjoy it. Because obviously my first time, MJ, my partner in crime, made sure that I was going to have a great time, and I want to quickly just shout out to MJ, because this girl made my trip one of the most amazing experiences I've had.
Yeah. Especially your birthday party, but we'll go on to that in a minute. Well, birthday
exactly. Yeah, there's some sneaky people out that I know, which I about. We'll talk about that in a second.
Even I was like, what?
Tell me about it. You weren't, Sam. You know what I'm like with surprises.
Yeah.
And MJ knows what I'm like with surprises, and the way they surprised me was very, very humbling and very, very emotional.
So, obviously, moving on a little bit to the actual convention itself. How does it differ from UK conventions, or doesn't it, in a way?
To be truthfully honest, because I knew some very, very close people who were Camp's family that were there anyway, such as Frank, Sinelli, Isabel, and a few of the other guys that have been to Sage Paracon. And by the way, tickets are still available, so go on the website www.sageparacon.com and get your tickets now. And there's plenty of tickets still available, and join in the family. But no, because I knew a few people that were there. The next day, when we arrived on the Wednesday, so the Thursday was sort of recovery, chill out, and relax. And I knew all these people. I was a little bit apprehensive because I knew MJ would be tied up and she'd be doing her own stuff because she was doing a talk. So I was a little bit apprehensive, like, what am I going to be doing? What am I going to be feeling and stuff like that? But to be truthfully honest, from the moment we arrived on Wednesday when we bumped into a few other people at the bar when we checked in, when we dumped the bags and came downstairs. I hadn't my fears and anxiety just left me like straight away, because everybody that I met that MJ had already known got introduced to myself, and oh, you're Carl, blah blah, and oh, wonderful to meet. Everybody I met made me feel so welcome, which was because it was my first time, and I was technically the token English guy coming out to Boston, to Salem, which is quite funny when you think about the history of the place and the Boston Tea Party and everything like that. But the guys made me so welcome, and everybody I met, even if it was for 10 seconds, or I've made so many friends, so many people that I would count friends for life now. You've been to Sage Paracon, Sam, and it was the same feeling. As soon as I walked through the door, as soon as I started to meet people and MJ introduced me to people, it was like a family. And this was what I felt so happy. I was slightly, as I said, I was slightly apprehensive because I knew that at some point MJ would be off doing her stuff and I'd be left on my own. And I'm like, am I going to be the sort of the strange guy standing at the back of the room? I had nothing to worry about that. Everybody that I met was so welcoming and great.
Yeah, and I think obviously that's the thing as well, and because obviously it was your first like American going across the pond to a convention.
Well, so, I'd done a Comic-Con. I did San Diego Comic-Con but
that's probably different.
Many years ago, and that kind of blew my mind slightly when it came to people dressing up and the whole Comic-Con experience. So I'd experienced that. I'd obviously investigated out in the US, luckily, through my contacts through Ghost Stop, and went to St. Augustine's Lighthouse in Florida. But I'd never experienced a convention, a paranormal convention. I'd been meaning to get over for many, many years, but it just didn't work out with my schedule. But this year just fell into place, and I truly am so humbled and honoured that everybody I met, everybody I spoke to, everybody that was there at Salem Con 5 was so welcoming. And everybody, like, obviously MJ being MJ, they knew MJ, and they obviously then suddenly knew me because, oh, you're Carl, blah, blah. And everybody was so friendly. It was amazing. It was like when we arrived, we'd thrown our bags in the room. We'd sort of freshened up a bit after the flight. We'd gone downstairs to get something to eat, and we were sat at the bar. So there was only myself, MJ, and Desiree and Greg sitting at the bar, just chilling, just relaxing. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed somebody walking in, and I recognised them. And all of a sudden, I nudged MJ. I went, "There's Scott Grimwald." And MJ went, "Oh, it's Scott." And then it was just great because I'd been chatting to Scott on social media for a long, long time. He'd never actually met me, but he was like, "Oh, this is Carl." And it just clicked from there. And we had another guy that was there, which I do have to do a personal shout out because this guy made my trip as well. And that's Jeff. And not the Jeff that everybody thinks we're talking about. This is Jeff, who was there with Scott, who is working with Scott on a project at the moment. And we literally, from the Wednesday, they came up, we had a chat, we had a few drinks, we had a laugh. We had a really good time on the Wednesday night, on the Wednesday, and then obviously into the Thursday. But these guys were amazing. They just made me feel so welcome.
Yeah, I was very jealous that you met Scott, I have to admit, because I've been wanting to meet Scott for ages. I must admit, Scott and Jeff, if anybody who wants to know who Scott and Jeff are, we'll post the links into the chat room, etc. But these guys are completely amazing, and they made me feel so welcome. These guys are... Scott's basically used to be a presenter, and he's done TV work, paranormal paparazzi, and all this sort of stuff. But he has such a good sense of humour, and this is what made me. We as soon as we met, myself, Scott, and Jeff just clicked. It was just like we were friends for life, and we're still going to be friends for life. But we have the same sense of humour, the same twisted and funny sense of humour.
So we had a great time on the Wednesday when we arrived. Then we went into the Thursday and we decided that we were all going to go out for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And MJ said, "There's only one place. First time in Salem, you have to go to this one location." So I went, "Yeah, cool." So we all met in reception after the night before, and we headed off into Salem. First time I'd seen Salem in the daylight, because obviously it was dark when I arrived. So I was looking around, because I got into reception quite early, because obviously jet lag, my body was like fluctuating. I was thinking it was a lot earlier or whatever. So I stood outside the hotel and I looked around, and you look around Salem outside the Hawthorne Hotel, you've got the Witches Museum just up the road. You've got an unbelievable like public park space, and then you've got a high street directly opposite from the main reception walking into Salem. So we met up with everybody. We had a little wander down, and we were looking at like anybody that's not been to Salem. If you're into witches, you're into crystals, you're into anything paranormal, spooky, or anything, this is the place to be. Because this town, every shop is something to do with the paranormal, crystals and everything like that. So you're walking past. So we walked to this place. We were walking to this amazing place called Red's Diner. And I've obviously been to America quite a lot. But I've never experienced anything like the breakfast we went and sat with. So we turned up at Red's after walking through Salem, and we all got a table. We all sat around there. We were all chatting, having a good laugh. There was Scott, there was Jeff, there was a few other people. There was Desiree, there was Greg, there was MJ. We were always having a laugh. And MJ had been telling me, you've got to have the ultimate Bloody Mary.
Oh God!
Like, I'm game for a giggle. I'll push me pound into the game, and so I said, right, I'll have the ultimate Bloody Mary. MJ had an ultimate Bloody Mary. A couple of the other people went, "Oh, that sounds nice. We'll have some of that." Scott decided to have a non-alcoholic one, and so this thing turned up. This thing had shrimp, cheese, gherkins, you name it. Booze, tomato juice. This thing was the ultimate. And so we ordered, so that arrived first, and I was like, wow, that's a meal on itself. So then we ordered breakfast, and I went for something, I thought, I'll go for something light, something easy. So I went for an omelette, and this thing turned up. And I was gobsmacked. This thing was huge. And me being not a small lad, I struggled big time to eat it, but we had such an amazing time. Sam, can you just talk a second? Somebody just knocked on my door. 2 seconds, okay? Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
You talk.
Oh, yeah. Guys, if I'm just letting you know, because obviously I've had a few messages from the chat room, but well, not from the chat room, but on Messenger and Facebook. There is a chat room available. If you obviously click on the link on my profile or the event, there is a speech bubble at the bottom of the page, and you can sign in via Facebook or Twitter, and you can join in the chat room in the chat. And obviously that's if you want to ask any questions as well. Obviously. So because I know obviously like a few people are like, I've had a few messages. It is pretty easy, guys, because I know obviously a lot of you are regular listeners. But yeah, there is a chat room available, because I know I've had a lot of messages saying, where's the chat room? So there you go. Chat room explained. Where it is.
I'm now back. Sorry, that was one of my next door neighbours just knocking at a parcel just arrived for me, which they took in earlier, and they just knocked on my door. So I do apologise.
It's all right. I was just telling, because I've had a few messages on Facebook, people saying can't get in the chat room. So.
Oh, okay. Just follow the link. Click on the little icon, the speech bubble. You can then join the chat room.
Yeah. So, obviously continuing on. You had your nice breakfast tonight. So was your ultimate Bloody Mary nice then?
Oh, this thing, as they say, you can't go to Salem without experiencing Red's ultimate Bloody Mary. MJ had been telling me this, and so many of my friends that I met up with when I was there told me, you have to experience that. And this thing was amazing. I'm just in the process of producing a little video for my little trip, which shows me from being picked up at home all the way through the weekend to when I come back, and I'll be posting that shortly. But this thing was amazing. It was a mere, it had shrimp, it had everything. You name it, this thing had it. And it was amazing. But the biggest thing was we were also having breakfast. So obviously most of the people went for pancakes. Pancakes with syrup, pancakes with bacon, pancakes with bacon syrup, pancakes with bacon syrup and sausage, you name it, they had it. I didn't want to go for pancakes, so I went for a sensible option, which was an omelette. And this omelette turned up, and it was twice the size of my head. It was just full of onions, sausage, you name it, this thing had it. I tried to eat it. I only got about halfway through. Everybody else just tucked into their breakfast, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't have this size breakfast every single day. Don't mind the Bloody Mary, but I can't do that. So by the time we left Red's Diner, which is a place you have to go, anybody listening, anybody who goes to Salem, you have to go to Red's. You want to experience breakfast like it, and make sure you're hungry, and make sure you've not eaten before, because just for the breakfast menu, never actually had lunch or dinner in there, but for the breakfast menu, this place is huge. This place is amazing. You will not leave empty or feeling not full. But yeah, the Bloody Marys are great. We had breakfast, and then we decided, because it was the Thursday, the convention didn't start till the Friday. We had people joining us during in the afternoon of the Thursday, so we decided we'd go for a little wander around the town of Salem.
So did you go to any of the famous places in Salem on the Thursday, did you say?
On the Thursday, basically MJ and everybody else and everybody that was with us just gave me a quick guided tour of the town. So they showed me the main high street, a few of the famous shops. You'll see some amazing photos of witch pics, where the girls went and got pictures of them dressed as witches in front of cauldrons, which are amazing. Just go on to social media and find those. They were amazing. We had a little wander around. We ended up at the Witches' Graveyard, which is the place in Salem where the poor people that were dispatched out of this life into the next as potential witches. There's this memorial site, and that's an amazing place. It's so atmospheric. It's amazing. So each of the people that were hung, however they dispatched themselves out of life, there's a memorial stone. And you stand at the side of it, and you just look at it, and you just look around this wall. In it's the middle of a little town, and there's a completely different vibe to it. So you look at it, and it's just like, whoa, this hits home. And I walked around it. I took some photos. I was very, very respectful. And right next to it is the actual main graveyard to Salem, where a couple of them, the witches, the so-called witches, were actually buried. So we had a little wander around there, and then we headed back to the Hawthorne. But we looked around. We went to a couple of other places on the way back in, a couple of shops, a couple of amazing places. But then we headed back into the Hawthorne because a few of our friends were arriving at that particular moment.
The Jeff you've just been talking about earlier is in the chat room, by the way.
My brother from a mother. I missed that guy.
Hi guys, love you, bro.
This guy that you see, Jeff, anybody that's on social media, anybody of my followers or my friends, anybody that listens, Go and hit this bloke up. This guy is amazing. He works so hard in the field, and I believe this was his first paranormal convention as well. He's completely and utterly tech savvy like myself. We had so much in common. This guy's truly and utterly amazing, and I just want to shout out to Jeff. You know, mate, I love you lots, mate. You're a complete and other brother for me.
So obviously you're saying about the graveyard. Did they if they got a lot more stuff remembering what happened in Salem all them years ago? Well, decades ago.
Salem is completely and utterly witch driven. You've got the Witches Museum. You've got every single shop. It has something to do with witches, whether it's crystals, whether it's spells, whether it's you name it. This place has it. If you want a crystal, if you want a herb, you want something to do a potion, you want to buy a spell book, this is the place to go. This place, and in the main square, you have I don't know, there's probably a lot of young people listening to this, but there's some probably oldies that remember this. But there was a program on American TV called Bewitched with Samantha, who used to be a witch who married into a mortal person. And the opening segment used to be her on a broomstick or sitting on the moon. And there's a statue in the main square of her sitting, which is a scene out of the TV show, because they filmed a lot of the outside stuff in Salem.
Yeah, I know the show.
Yeah, you name
Funnily
it.
enough, I know the show. I'm only a young fan. I know the show.
Anybody that's into witchy powers, producing stuff that will help you through life, stuff that will do stuff. You go into these shops, and the thing that I remember mostly about going into a lot of these shops were the smell. There's so much herb, all these different type of fragrances that they have. You can buy these little pouches, and they tell you how to blend them and do things to produce different, and they give you words and stuff like that. Completely amazing. There's places, I'll come on to a couple of them later on.
Jeff says, how's that thermal working for you?
Oh, oh God. Jeff will make me fun. Jeff will make me cry at some point. I was going to cover this a little bit more, but we'll come on to that. And
Jeff, sorry.
I want to talk about that particularly when we come to that point of my trip. But what Jeff and Scott did for me during my trip blew me away. The whole trip blew me away, but there were certain moments, and that particular moment, what Jeff did for me, and a couple of other moments, absolutely blew me away.
So let's go back to the convention itself. So I'm assuming you met all the speakers.
Yeah, well,
because it was Frank there, we know Frank, Grant Wilson.
Yeah, people started turning up on the Thursday. Obviously, there was Jeff and Scott turned up on the Wednesday, so we'd already produced a good friendship, and we were chatting and having a good laugh. We got back to the hotel after a little wander around Salem. And then, obviously, people started turning up. The lovely Frank and Isabella, anybody that's been to Sage Paracon from the early days would know Frank, Sinelli, and Isabella. Completely amazing people. And this is when my trip sort of took a major step up, because obviously MJ, she had a lot to do. And I would never want to be like the spare part wandering around and just hanging in the background. So I knew what she was going to be doing. She'd be running around headless chicken like she does, and she'd be doing stuff with other people. So I knew Frank and Isabella and a couple of the other people that were turning up on Thursday. So we sort of met up. We had a bit of and the speakers started coming in. So Grant Wilson turned up. John Zaffis turned up. People people like that, and Jason, who's a demonologist, who's a natural in the clergy, turned up. All these people started turning up during the Thursday. So I was getting to meet these, and I met up with two amazing guys, Mark and Dave, and we sort of bonded as literally straight as well when we sort of met each other. And they had been coming to Salem for a few years, so me, Dave, and Mark sort of hung out most of the time with Frank and Isabella and everybody else on the Thursday, welcome everybody. Everybody was coming in, so it was sort of like one of those days which you have at Sage Paracon where people are coming in until the actual convention starts. So that's what the Thursday was like.
Yeah, that's the good thing, though. Obviously, about these conventions, though, in it, and in any part of the world, you know, if they're in the hotel which the convention's actually at, it is better because you get to know them as bits because of that downtime, don't you?
Exactly, and this convention this year, the convention was actually being held in the hotel down in the basement area, which is they call the library, etc. Because previous years they had the convention in the town hall. So anybody that's seen Hocus Pocus, the film, everything was filmed around Salem, and the town hall is shown on film. That's where the convention was the previous year, but this year they decided to have the convention. Everybody staying at the Hawthorne. So yeah, it was good because everybody was there. You'd walk down into the public spaces like the reception. The reception was basically the meeting point of the hotel. So everybody was coming down from various different. We'd just sit around in reception. People would just come and go. We all say hello, and then you go your various different ways. You go to the bar. You're going to go out to something to eat, or you're going to go and chill out. And so I spent a lot of time in the reception area of Hawthorne Hotel, which is amazing. It's truly worldy, oldie, amazing hotel. Which little reception desk, some amazing like period features, and then on one side you've got the bar, and then you've got one of the ballrooms, and then you go downstairs into the library, which is a big another function area.
Is it a pretty big hotel then?
Oh yeah, it's 6 floors, each floor active as anything, very, very haunted. It's one of the most haunted locations in Salem. So great for a paranormal investigator because I think on the first night we were there, we were sat in reception and these people came in, cameras, various bits of equipment, and the hotel let these people investigate the floors. So we were talking to them and they were like, oh, it's amazing the hotel lets us, as long as you don't interfere with the guests, like not making any noise, they let people investigate the hotel without them paying. So it was amazing.
That is good. Did you experience anything paranormally?
The first night, we obviously landed. We checked in there. We'd had a bit of food. We had a bit of a drink. Myself, because MJ was sharing the room until she got into her room. I had a room with like 2 massive beds. So we went to bed, and jet lag's obviously a killer. So I suddenly was awake at about 3:30 in the morning, thinking, oh, I'm awake now. I want to go to sleep. But I tried to, but I couldn't. And then all of a sudden, MJ sat up. Anybody that's a wrestling fan that knows the Undertaker's move where he sits up,
yeah,
MJ did that, and I was awake and I'm leaning in bed because I couldn't sleep, and MJ sat up, but as MJ sat up, out of the corner of my eye I saw somebody standing at the bottom of a bed, a female. So MJ sat up like the Undertaker. Then she went back down and made a couple of weird noises. So when she sort of came around, I said to MJ, who was the lady at the bottom of your bed? Because there was a lady standing in front of the full-length mirror. And she went, I picked up on that, but I didn't realise that you'd pick up on that. I sort of was awake and she did all that. But she felt this presence in the room. We were on the 4th floor. And I saw this, and I put it down to two things. It could have been jet lag. It could have been my mind going, "You need to sleep. I'm just going to show you something weird." But I also put it down to the paranormal activity, because the hotel is completely and utterly, every single floor is active. I knew that before I actually went, because of doing my little bit of research on the venue, and the place is active as anything.
Cool.
So that was the first week.
I think you mentioned. Did you mention? I can't think, because I knew MJ mentioned that, but I can't think where she mentioned it. I'm sure she said about that.
She probably did mention it, because MJ did more lives than I did.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what I don't know. I can't remember.
Well, MJ, like I said, I owe everything to that lady.
Yeah, she did loads of lives.
I owe everything to that lady's trip, because she persuaded me. Because obviously I had a rough couple of years in the past, and MJ really, really made that trip my partner in crime for the Salem. I love that girl to bits, and she really did make that trip completely and utterly amazing.
So, did you go into all the talks?
Yeah, well, we had, because the convention is slightly different. Obviously, you have on the Friday you had a VIP party, and then on the Saturday the talks kicked off. Which started off with a panel, and then all the speakers worked through from that. But on the Friday, obviously everybody had turned up and everybody was there. We started to meet everybody, and MJ was introducing me to people that I didn't know. I'd become more friends with everybody, and Dave and Mark was like introducing me as well when MJ wasn't there. So we had the VIP party on the Friday, and at this point, I have to do a massive shout out and a massive thank you to Mark and Lauren and the rest of the team that put on SalemCon 5. These guys, Mark and Lauren and the whole team, are too many people to name the team that put this on. They were so welcoming, they were so lovely, and we had the VIP party, which was before the convention started on the Saturday. And wow, these guys completely blew me away. I was there, MJ was doing her stuff, so I didn't see MJ much, so we were there, we were having a drink, we were having a little bit of a party, and then halfway through the evening, I'm sat there chatting to Dave, Mark, Isabella and Frank, when Lauren came up to me and went, "Carl, we need you." And I'm like, "What do you mean?"
Oh, no.
"What do you need? You need me." I'm like, "It's the middle of a party. You can't need me." So I got dragged up, and Mark and Lauren and the rest of the team were there. Scott was there, and a couple of the other speakers were there, and everybody was there, because obviously it was my birthday.
Yeah.
And the guys dragged me up in front of everybody, being the token Brit guy. And obviously, anybody that knows history, the British tried to do some nasty things in Boston area, and people got angry and threw tea into the sea. So, and the famous thing, the English is coming, the English is coming. But these guys, Mark welcomed me to Salem from the other side of the pond and said I was the furthest person that travelled and all this sort of stuff. And next thing, they're all welcome me to Salem, welcome me to Salem Paracon, and they all sang happy birthday to me.
I did see the photo and I was like, yeah, he's properly singing happy birthday, because you just were like looking down like.
I had that surprise on the Friday. I forgot to mention something. On the Thursday, I was supposed to be just going out for something to eat with MJ. So me and MJ had arranged to go out for something to eat. Then I was waiting outside for MJ, and MJ said, "Oh, I'm 2 seconds." And then a friend of ours that I'd met, Dave, came out and said, "I'm going to come out to dinner with you guys because everybody else is doing stuff." So we walked to the Lyceum in Salem, which is a location where Ghost Adventures have investigated, which is now one of the best fish restaurants in Salem. So I didn't have a clue. I was just wandering along, chatting to MJ, chatting to Dave. And then we turned up at the restaurant. We walked in, and then the server said, "Oh, party of 16." And I went, "No, party of 3." MJ tapped me on the shoulder and went, "No, it's a party of 16. And MJ had arranged for people that had got in early to come out for a birthday meal for me on the Thursday. So I was blown away. You know what I'm like, Sam. I'm not a big surprise person. I don't really like surprises. Mm-hmm. But so everybody was there, and then out of the corner of my eye, I see this familiar face. And I'm like, "Hang on, that's Jeff Belanger, who's a good friend of mine, who is the researcher from Ghost Adventures." And I've become very good friends through Sage Paracon and everything like that. Jeff, out of his own schedule, wasn't speaking at SalemCon, but because he lived in the area, MJ had spoken to him, and I'd been speaking to him online, but he told me he was doing other things. This is where this whole status I put up with sneaky people and stuff like that. But out of his own, he didn't have anything scheduled, and he made an effort to come to my birthday meal, which completely and utterly knocked me for 6. So MJ had arranged for everybody that could make my dinner a birthday meal, who then surprised me by walking in afterwards. And then Jeff then was like, walked in behind, and I'm like, "Jeff, what are you doing here? You should be in Connecticut helping Dad move." And it was amazing moment. So that was on the Thursday. I can't believe I completely forgot about that. So I thank MJ for that, and everybody that turned up. Big special thanks to Jeff, who made time out of his schedule because he's busy as anything, and he made a point to come out and wish me happy birthday. And I was his +1. We held hand across the table. We blew together.
Typical Jeff.
Yeah, and then on the Friday we had the party where they completely poleaxed me again emotionally by everybody singing me happy birthday. So Mark, Lauren, and I know these guys are listening tonight because I did a live feed from the car park when we had one of our tailgate parties before the convention on the network, and Mark got to speak. But I want to personally take this moment to thank Mark, Lauren, and the rest of the team that put on Salem Paracon 5. You guys are amazing. Mark, thank you so much for making me feel so welcome, making me very, very humbled, and realizing that distance between the UK and America isn't so massive. People are amazing. Everybody that I met at Salem are amazing, but especially big hearts, big love to Mark, Lauren, and the rest of the team who put on SalemCon 5, and for making me feel part of the family, making me feel so welcome, because these guys did amazing. What they did when they sung Happy Birthday, yes, I was embarrassed, and anybody that's seen the video can see how embarrassed I am, because everybody that probably knows me knows I hate that sort of stuff. But I was so emotional. I had to go outside for a good 15 minutes before I came back in because nobody wants to see me cry.
Yeah.
It's not a pleasant sight.
It's not a pleasant sight. Don't think seeing anyone cry. To be fair.
Yeah, but it was a good moment. But the year I'd had it previously, which people that listen to the show knows exactly what's gone on. But yeah, it was on my birthday was the perfect cherry on the cake. And then the weekend continued even better, and the next few days happened even better after that. And that was thanks to Mark and Lauren and the team.
Well, you know what they say, it must have meant to be, because it was your birthday. And
Exactly.
So, what else did you get up to in Salem? Obviously,
okay, that's before actually the convention really started. So I've had all these emotions, all these amazing experiences. And then the convention kicked off. So the convention kicked off down in the library. And we had a paranormal round table with Chris, MJ, and the amazing Justin, who basically did a round table, and it was hosted by Frank Sinelli, the amazing Frank Sinelli, Dr. Skepta and everything like that, and kicked off with that, and they were talking about the differences between the UK and America. They were all talking about haunted items. Completely and utterly amazing experience where, because I've experienced Sage Paracon, and the amazing people that talk there, and I wanted to see what the difference was. And there's not much difference between. This was what I was quite happy about. My first convention, my first paranormal convention, was like being home. It was like being at Sage because it was a complete family atmosphere. It was complete. You've been to Sage. Mm-hmm. You know what it's like. It's a Sage. It's a family. Everybody's having a laugh. Everybody's great. And that's what Mark, Lauren and the team put on. And the first round table with MJ and the other guys and Frank, it was great. It was like question and answers. They were asking questions. They were talking about differences between investigation techniques in the UK and America. They were talking about haunted items. They were talking about this stuff. Lasted for a good hour and a bit, whatever. And then, so it was all interactive. The place was packed. At that time in the morning, particularly after the party the night before, when people should really have sore heads, because those guys
we know what it's like.
I honestly thought the Sage family could party, but Salem, Paracon, 5, those guys know how to party as well. And that's where a few of the hashtags came from. Which I know Sam wants to ask about, but we'll cover those in a bit. But yeah, we had that. We had the first bit. Then we had a little bit of a break, so everybody just chilled out. And then we had all the other speakers that came on. Every single speaker I sat with and watched. The audience participation was so amazing. One of the best times was during Scott's Grimwald's presentation, who takes a lighter-hearted look at the paranormal. And the interaction with the audience was completely and utterly hysterical, funny, but it was great at the same time. He made everybody laugh. Myself and Jeff the night before were wandering around people, asking people for dollar bills have you got $5 for a $5 bill? Because he needed ones. Because Scott basically, I'm not going to break too much secrets, but just in case anybody listening in the UK ever experiences one of his presentations. But the guy is amazing. The entertainment value is amazing. He doesn't take it too serious, and it's completely and utterly hilariously funny. People get paid. People get gifts. People get molested by Scott trying to climb over them. And his talk was completely amazing. So there was that. Then we had another break. And then we had, who else did we have? We had Guy from Ghost Hunters as well. And then we had Grant. And then we had an evening with John Zaffis and Grant as well. And in between that, there was 2 floors of vendor stalls with amazing stuff. And I met so many great people up there. I did so many chats with those guys. Yeah, completely and utterly. The whole day, it was breathtaking. Mark, Lauren, and the team. I keep saying this, but I keep having to say this. These guys did such an amazing job. And if they do one next year, which SalemCon 6 is a hashtag, we need that. If they do it, anybody listening that's in the UK, you need to get involved, go, because you will have such a good time. It's not that expensive to get there. It's not that expensive for the ticket. It's not that expensive for the thing, especially with the pound to the dollar. Bear that in mind. But amazing. You guys need to jump on board. If they have it, book it, get there, and join in the fun. I'm going to be there no matter what. Even if there's no SalemCon, I'm going to go to Salem, and I'm just going to relive the memories from the previous year.
Yeah, I know. Like, seeing from MJ's Facebook Lives, it looked massive, and I mean massive. Yeah.
It was. It had the same feel as Sage, which was great. Everybody. There was no egos. There was nothing. You got Ken Bogle, who's a medium. Unbelievable guy. Such a laugh. Such an amazing guy. You had Chris, who's holding a convention in the next couple of weeks down in Maine. Get involved in that. Amazing. Scott, Grant, and obviously the godfather of the paranormal, John Zaffis, who was amazing to see again, who we had chats while we were doing stuff, and we bumped. But also, it's not just the convention, it's the friendships you make, the stuff that gets on, that happens there. Because half the time, the party was happening outside of the hotel in the car park, where they had, anybody that knows America knows they like tailgate parties. And that's what we were doing. We were having a tailgate party, drinking nice drinks, smoking cigars, having a laugh, meeting people. And there was people from Canada. I made so many friends. It was just great. There was Emily from Canada, amazing. There was Dave and Mark, Scott, Jeff, everybody that I'd met previously. And then after Sage, after Salem, the rest of the Sage family threw in. So we had Dee Dee, we had Patty coming in for a few days, where we carried on the most amazing trip I had. But I want to take this moment, and I've said this again, but I'm going to say it again. Mark, Lauren, and the team, every single one of them, there's too many to mention. These guys put on one hell of a convention.
And I've heard great things, so if you're tuning in, Mark and Lauren? What is it, Lauren?
Lauren.
Yeah, I've heard great things as well, guys. So
Yeah. So if they do Sage 6, which the hashtag means we want Salem 6, they've got to do it. Because if not, I'm just going to go to Salem. I don't know, the rest of the PBs are going to be there anyway. If there's no convention, the rest of the PBs are going to be there. So,
so let's move on to the bit of the funny side of Salem now. So, come on, I'm a shit. So I want to know, obviously, because what was the little bit? Obviously, tell me a little bit about what the hashtag was about the Bob and Baby.
Okay. We had a hashtag. We now have shirts. We now have sweatshirts. We now have hats, which we're going to be wearing next year when Mark puts it on. But there was 2 guys which I spent a lot of time with, who are just amazing, Mark and Dave. And they made me feel, because MJ was doing her stuff, doing all her stuff, all her radios and all of her MJ stuff, which I don't know, she was off doing what she does, which is great. And she was worried about me, and I said, don't worry about me, I'm quite happy sitting here and doing what I do. But I met these guys, started chatting to them, had a great time, we were laughing, we had a giggle, and then MJ came on and went, oh, these two. So it sort of progressed from there, and we got this hashtag from the barmaid in the Hawthorne Hotel, and we were called the Bourbon Perverts, because we sort of drank. Well, it got to a stage 2 days before I was going to be leaving. The bar manager of the Hawthorne bar, the Inn on the Green, came up to me and went, Mr. Hutchinson, when are you leaving? And I went, I'm leaving on Wednesday. And went, okay, we're just trying to work out how much more Maker's Mark bourbon do we need to order for the next couple of days. Obviously, we'd caned it. And that's part of the fun of conventions. You've been to Sage, you know how fun it is. So, yeah, they came up and asked me when I was leaving, just to make sure because that's how friendly they are, they wanted to make sure they didn't run out. And that's how the hashtag, that particular hashtag came across.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't know, Carl loves these bourbons.
That's all I drink. I all drink bourbon. And I experienced quite a few bourbons, a bit like when I was in Vegas with Sam, MJ, for MJ's wedding renewal. I did the Bourbon Trail in the Luxor. I kind of did that at the Hawthorne. It wasn't so massive, but we still had a great time.
Yeah. So, last thing, tell us about this thermal thing Jeff has said in the chat room.
Okay. Okay. If I get a bit emotional, I do apologise. They had a raffle. So I bought a raffle tickets and I won a T-shirt, a hat and a candle. One of the top prizes was a gift that Jeff and Scott put forward, which was a thermal camera for the Android. So I didn't win it, didn't think anything of it, didn't actually care that I didn't win it. Was quite happy with what I won, etc., etc. And then we were outside having one of our tailgate parties when Jeff and Scott came up to me, and they went, Carl, just come over here a second. And they then handed me Jeff's personal FLIR thermal camera for an Android. And he went, you didn't win this one. You're such a nice guy. Your family now have that. And they put it in my hand and I went, what's that? And they went, you know what it is. And I just looked at them. I went, I can't accept that. There's no way I can accept that. I'm not going to accept that. And they went, tough, you're going to accept it. And yes, I'm big enough and ugly enough to admit it. I did have a little bit of a tear in my eye, because that's what not made the trip, but that's what confirmed the amazing time I had at Salem. Because as people know that go to Sage, you become family. These guys now, everybody, my Facebook, my Twitter is now alive with new people that I know. I was just talking to a couple of people before I came on live. Jeff is one of them. But what Jeff and Scott did for me and gave me Jeff's personal camera, not a camera that was brand new. This is what he's used and captured and has been using for a long time. He gave me that personally and went, that's yours, because I don't want to say this because it sounds like I'm blowing my own trumpet, but they said to me, I want you to have that because you're amazing. And this is what I want to say about the whole trip. Forget the Paracon, forget everything else, but I made so many friends, which I now count as family, and these guys really, really blew me away about how they welcomed me into their little thing, because it was the first time there. I was the token Brit, as people kept on shouting out, "Oh, what a Brit's here!" and "Happy birthday!" People that I never even met, but I then suddenly got friends with, kept on coming up to me, "Happy birthday" and stuff like that. Everywhere I walked around Salem, somebody would bump in and go, "Carl, it's your birthday, happy birthday." But these guys, Scott and Greg, amazing. They gave me this thermal camera. Jeff, sorry. See, I got emotional over it. They gave me this camera, which I was testing tonight, and I'm so humbled that the both of them gave me it, and it's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you'd like to say, Carl?
No, because I'm going to blubber like a blubbery thing.
So, guys, with that said, we come to the end of the show. Just a few things before, obviously, we go. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. As always, Jeff.
Sam, can I just quickly say something
before
we finish off? Sorry. I just want to
fine.
thank a couple of people. Very short list, because I can't thank everybody. I want to first of all thank MJ, my partner in crime, for making this experience happening and coming with me. I want to thank Jeff and Scott, Mark, Lauren and the team, Frank, Isabella, Dave, Mark, and everybody else. Too many people to mention that made this trip so special. Back to you.
Yeah, so continuing on, thank you, Andy, Jeff, Kelsey, Neen, and obviously Bleak Hall Paranormal, and obviously the wonderful Kerry, for being in the chat room tonight. If any of you miss our shows, you can find us on Spreaker, which obviously you're listening to now. If you want to catch any of the other shows, you just click on the name and shall give a list of all the previous shows. We go directly to YouTube, SoundCloud, Podbeam, and obviously if you go to YouTube, please like, comment, share and subscribe. With that said, it's a good night from me and Carl. Oh, he's gone. It's fine, but it's a good night from Carl.
Good night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow on the Dark Mirror Show.
I didn't see it.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.